The Bible is a love story. It's a story that spans generations, cultures, and continents. It tells of a God who is deeply in love with his creation, a God who longs to be close to us, to walk with us, and to share in our joys and sorrows. It's about God wanting to be close to us. From the very beginning, in the Garden of Eden, God walked with Adam and Eve, sharing in their lives, their dreams, and their struggles. From the beginning, God desired a relationship with his children. He created us to be in communion with him, to know him, and to be known by him. This desire for relationship is woven throughout the entire narrative of the Bible. He wants to dwell among us. He wants to be present in our lives, in our homes, and in our hearts. This is why he instructed his people to build places of worship, places where his presence could be felt and experienced. Throughout the Bible, we see God asking his people to create special places for worship. These places were not just buildings, they were sacred spaces where people could come together to encounter God. These places weren't just buildings, they were symbols of God's presence, reminders that he is always with us no matter where we are. They were reminders of God's presence. They were places where people could gather to worship, to pray, and to experience the love and faithfulness of God. They were places to gather, to find community, and to strengthen their faith. These sacred spaces provided a sense of belonging and a connection to something greater than themselves, to pray, to offer thanks. In these places people found solace, hope, and a deeper understanding of God's love. They were a visible sign of God's love and faithfulness. These sacred spaces, whether grand or humble, remind us that God is always near, always ready to welcome us home. Noah, saved from the flood, built an altar to God. This was a significant moment, marking the end of a devastating period and the beginning of a new covenant with the Creator. The altar, simple yet profound, symbolized Noah's deep gratitude and reverence. It was a gesture of faith, acknowledging the divine protection that had spared him and his family from the cataclysmic deluge. It was a simple act of gratitude, yet it carried immense spiritual weight. The offerings placed upon the altar were not just sacrifices, they were expressions of a heart overwhelmed with thankfulness. Each offering was a testament to the bond between humanity and the divine, a bridge built through faith and devotion. He offered sacrifices, giving thanks for God's protection. These sacrifices were more than rituals, they were acts of worship, signifying trust and dependence on God's providence. The smoke rising from the altar was a visual representation of prayers ascending to the heavens, a fragrant offering pleasing to God. Later, God asked Moses to build a tabernacle. This was not just any structure, it was a divine blueprint, a sacred space meticulously designed to host the presence of God. The tabernacle was a portable sanctuary, a holy tent that traveled with the Israelites through their wilderness journey, symbolizing God's constant presence and guidance. This was a portable tent, a sacred space where God's presence would dwell among his people. Every detail of the tabernacle, from its construction to its furnishings, was infused with spiritual significance. It was a place where heaven met earth, where the divine and the human could commune in a profound and intimate way. Then, King David, a man after God's own heart, desired to build a permanent temple for the Ark of the Covenant. His vision was to create a lasting monument to God's glory, a central place of worship for the nation of Israel. Though David was not permitted to build the temple himself, his passion and dedication laid the groundwork for what was to come. His son, Solomon, known for his wisdom, completed this magnificent structure. Solomon's temple was an architectural marvel, a symbol of divine wisdom and human craftsmanship. It stood as a beacon of faith, drawing people from far and wide to witness its splendor and to worship the God of Israel. It was a place of awe and wonder, a testament to God's glory. The temple's grandeur and beauty reflected the majesty of the Creator, inspiring reverence and devotion in all who entered. It was more than a building. It was a sacred space where the divine presence was felt, a place where heaven touched earth. These sacred spaces brought people together. They gathered to worship, to celebrate festivals, to offer sacrifices. In these hallowed halls, traditions were passed down through generations, and the essence of faith was kept alive. The air was filled with hymns and prayers, echoing the devotion of countless souls who sought solace and strength within these walls. They came to seek God's guidance, to confess their sins, to receive forgiveness. Each prayer whispered, each tear shed, was a testament to their faith and hope. The confessional became a place of release, where burdens were lifted and hearts were healed. In these moments, they felt the divine presence, offering them comfort and peace. The temple, the tabernacle, these sacred structures stood as symbols of divine connection. They were not just buildings, but sanctuaries where the divine met the mortal. The intricate designs and sacred artifacts within told stories of faith, sacrifice, and divine encounters. These places provided refuge and renewal. They were sanctuaries where the weary found rest and the lost found direction. In the quiet corners of these sacred spaces, many found the strength to carry on, renewed by the sense of community and the presence of the divine. They reminded people that they weren't alone. God was with them. He saw their struggles, heard their prayers, and offered them hope. In these sacred spaces, faith was nurtured, and hope was rekindled. The presence of the divine was a constant reminder that no matter the trials faced, there was always a higher power watching over them, guiding them, and offering them eternal love and mercy. Building God's house is more than bricks and mortar. It's about creating spaces where God feels welcome. It's about building communities of faith, love, and support. It's about making our hearts His dwelling place. Let us continue to build God's house in our lives and in our world. Let us make space for His presence, His love, and His transforming power. Even hard times, such as during the pandemic, the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, continues the building of houses of worship, for it is God's command. In such edifices, the brethren are able to worship God, which is their primary duty to Him. It is also in the houses of worship where they receive the words of God, that is His power that brings salvation. Subscribe, like, and share.